No, baby, that's for somebody else. We're just gonna keep you right where you're at right now.
It doesn't matter what you think.
The Wrestling Realm presents Break It Down with Brian H.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this episode of Break It Down with Brian H. I'm your host, Brian H. Waters. Coming up this week, I got Harold Kuntz from Fox 4 Kansas City. He's going to join me as we talk about wrestling. But before we go there, I'm going to show you a clip, and you'll see why exactly I wanted him on this week's episode.
So you've probably heard Travis Kelce's speech at the parade by now, but I want to break it down. So here's some analysis. He starts off with two wrestlers' most common go-to lines off the top.
Can you dig it? Woo!
All right, Booker T is on the right. He's known for saying, "Can you dig it, sucker?" So in this theme, not the movie The Warriors. Ric Flair on the left, his go-to line is, "Woo!" What's next?
I'm wearing about half the beers I've been trying to drink, baby. It's been a long time coming.
Yeah, the jacket Kelce wore is $18,600. That's how much the Louis Vuitton monogram shearling's coat drenched in beer goes for. You know who else liked fancy jackets? Ric Flair. Give me 2 claps. What's next?
Man, this belt got something on it. It's got the heavyweight champions of the world, baby. The heavyweight champions of the world. That memorial up there, I see everybody up there in that memorial.
A championship belt weight is about 7 pounds, same weight as the Lombardi Trophy. All military personnel get into free to WWE events. Next.
It's just been turning and turning and turning. And what we do, we unleash a can of on everybody.
Andy Reid's been waiting 28 years since he's been in the NFL to unleash a can of whoop ... Stone Cold Steve Austin was known for saying that. Appropriately, he liked to chug beers. And that's the bottom line because I said so. Next.
We got Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, baby. How about Sammy Watkins? Woo! How about Damian Williams? Woo!
Now, the first part was authentic frontier gibberish. That's all I can say. The second part is putting over talent. Now, in wrestling, that means to make one look good. Just did it with, again, a Ric Flair style. And finally,
every single touchdown, every single point we score at Arrowhead is going to end with the anthem. You got to fight for your right to party!
All right, ladies and gentlemen, as promised, a special guest on this episode. I got the one, the only Harold Kuntz from Fox 4 out of Kansas City. What's up, man?
Hey, what's going on, man? Enjoying it. It's 1 degree outside right now, so there's nothing better than to stay inside and do some stuff here.
Oh, man. Well, I definitely appreciate you jumping right on after, a newscast. I hope the news is good over there. I heard y'all getting a lot of snow.
Yeah, 1 degree. We got some snow. I'm sure the black ice is all over the place there. But, as they like to say here, it's just Wednesday. So,
well, hopefully I wish I could say the business was hot right now.
Yeah.
It might be a little lukewarm, but we are in WrestleMania season. I tell you one thing, we do have NXT Takeover coming up this weekend. We'll get into that.
Those are the phones.
Yeah, so we know that'll be hot. But we'll start with 5 years, Women's Revolution, man. I'm going to just ask you off the top, what are some of your favorite memories from the Women's Revolution, and how do you feel about it?
They've been good matches. I mean, everybody wants to point to the WrestleMania where you had the triple threat that, headline WrestleMania, but I'm going to point to some ones that are kind of the beginning. I mean, you take people like Bayley and Sasha Banks, who were like somehow made a submission match something worth watching. They are the ones that really got this thing back on track, because there's a time where you had the ruthless aggression era and it kind of slowed down, and you guys like Cena and guys like Edge kind of slowed down. Of course, Edge is back now, but they slowed down, but then they needed something, and it was the women that did the resurgence. And I think CM Punk said it best on backstage when he says they're leading the dance right now. Like, they're the ones that's interesting. Their storylines are the ones you want to watch. So those, when you watch them perform, I mean, yeah, it's a limited amount of people, and that's what we saw in the Royal Rumble when, like, out of the 30 participants, like maybe almost half of them were like NXT people, just because they've got to develop more. But it's also, you know, you got the Four Horsemen show, we say of that, but then they led on a new revolution that I think is going to be even better years to come, where you see more and more people getting involved in the scope of the championships. They might have to have two championships. They might introduce a cruiserweight. So I just like the fact that they've laid the foundation for a future off of their hard work. I mean, obviously the man era, it was great. Becky Lynch, you know, everybody remembers the SmackDown moment where she has a bloody face and she's waving around. I mean, that's you know, for the past 5 years, that was probably the most iconic moment. But that's when everybody got caught into the whole the man thing. And it's been a great thing to do. It reminds you a lot of in the men's division when you kind of saw, again, I'll revert back to CM Punk when he kind of had the pipe bomb moments. You know, that was Becky Lynch. That was kind of her moment to shine, and she took it off, and she's hot right now. She's incredibly over with the crowd, and it's just something where you want to watch what they do. Like, you know, you see, like, no offense to the guys that you see now, like, say you see Aleister Black, or you see, like, or Braun Strowman or somebody like that right now, you see them, you're like, okay, that's cool, but get to the women. That's kind of what the revolution 5 years ago really started. And also, let's think about WWE Evolution, which only started because of Saudi Arabia, you know, only allowing men. When you see Evolution out there, they had their whole pay-per-view, and it was a good pay-per-view too, because they limited it. Was good in scope. It told a good story, which is what wrestling is at its purest form is telling a good story. And they were able to do that. So they've had a lot of good moments in the last 5 years.
All right, so I'm glad you brought that up. You talking about Becky Lynch, man. I'm gonna be honest with you now. I love women's wrestling. Been a fan, really took a deep dive into it as I started doing like the wrestling podcasts and wrestling shows. And mainly, to be honest with you, part of it was because like I would see like different women's wrestlers on Facebook promoting their shows, and I was like, hey, can I get you on my show? And they were more responsive. But that made me love it, you know, watching programs like Shine and what's the other one? Shimmer and WSU, where I did some work there for a couple of years. I love women's wrestling. I'm over Becky Lynch. I look at her. Okay. I was all for it last year around this time. I was happy she got the WrestleMania moment. I know. I be honest with you, I haven't really gone back and watched that match. Not having watched 6 hours worth of wrestling previously, but just to like dive right into that match, because obviously for so many obvious reasons, Kofi Kingston and Daniel Bryan stole the show for me. Of course. And Daniel Bryan being my favorite wrestler and Kofi Kingston for the culture, that was just to me like
that was the main event of WrestleMania. That wasn't the main event,
So I'm looking at Becky Lynch, and I was talking to my brother, my co-host, the real Dwayne Allen, and I said, dude, I'm over the man. She had her run, but I think to me, I would have liked this to end around SummerSlam or Hell in a Cell, to say the least. You know, I feel like they trying to force feed us Becky and Ronda rematch. We're not going to get that, so instead we're going to get Becky and Shayna. But I'm just over her, man, and maybe I want to know, how do you feel? You said she's hot. Are you still buying into it?
Yeah, I'd still say she's hot. I'm still buying into it, but that's mostly because they don't really have anything else to turn to right now.
Okay.
They're going to try Shayna, but she comes out on Monday night and she's doing the vampire gimmick with biting her in the back of the neck. And you're like, I don't know if that's the right way to go. Like, she's a good technical wrestler. Just let her wrestling shine. So I'd like to just see a good technical match between the two. I don't know if they're capable of it, or they're going to be able to put it all together before WrestleMania, because that's clearly where they're headed with that story. But I just don't like the gimmick involved. But
I like a brawl between them two. You know, Shayna's a prize fighter.
Like, if you have the man, and then you have someone who's the NXT champion coming out in the big leagues trying to storm, like, do like a Lesnar Cena thing where they had like all the women in the ring trying to, you know, hold both of them back together the way Lesnar and Cena did. There's ways you can do it, but I mean, they've overplayed Becky Charlotte. They've overplayed, you know, Sasha had her chance. Bayley's had her chance. So it's just right now, I think she's at a high for the women's part of wrestling, just because right now they really haven't manufactured anything. Now, could you complain, well, that's just the way the product is right now? Yes, you could say that for sure. But I mean, as of right now, she's still in the apex just because there's not much else that's just really like, I got to watch this moment right now. And there's nothing like, I like to say, like, the way Monday Night Raw is structured is going to be 9 o'clock, and you're going to be like, okay, that's the big thing, because usually they try to take advantage of halftime of Monday Night Football or 7 o'clock and then the main event. Those are your 3 segments you want to watch the most. But 9 o'clock, they've been doing interview sessions. Like MVP comes back with his thing. The Miz always does his thing. I mean, it just, you want things that are good. And right now, Becky Lynch is the only one that's really like, okay, I'm still watching that. Now, if we had some other interesting storylines, I'd agree with you full force. But for right now, it's just they haven't really produced anything that's like, okay, I got to watch that.
Okay, all right, so I give you that. But I would say this, right? A lot of people like to compare Stone Cold Steve Austin. You look at Stone Cold's 1998 run. This is the height of Stone Cold.
Yeah.
Had the title. He went, you can, if you want to throw in, and my good brother Hugh will be mad if I don't throw in a run. He's the biggest Kane fan I know. So you take in him dropping the title to Kane to get it right back. I felt like, looking back at it now, at the time, of course, I was 13 at the time. I was upset. But now I understand this is why y'all took the title from him. Keep it from getting stale. You built a new star with The Rock. And now we got Austin Rock at WrestleMania. Yeah. But they took it from him in September. Mm-hmm. Even with Kofi Kingston, as much as I hated the way he lost it, it was
time.
It was time. And I hate to admit it. I think, but it made everybody so angry because of the way he lost it. But I don't think you would have had people complaining if it would have just been a match, That's why I feel like Becky ran with it a little too long, that I felt like if you built somebody else up in that time, let's just say if you would have brought Shayna up around then, right? Mm-hmm. And then maybe put the title on Shayna and then had Becky chase Shayna, then I wouldn't mind Becky going over at WrestleMania. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or even Sasha. But I don't know. That's the thing.
They don't want anybody to take the throne, if you will, right now. That's just it. Like, the way they're writing it is just like they don't want anybody to be like, all right, we trust you to keep this belt of relevance. Like, it's just on Becky right now because they're like, well, you're the top of the bunch right now. Now, Shayna might be the one to do it. I don't know what their plans are, but that's the good thing is that you don't know what their plan is. So the beauty of watching wrestling is that in the story, you want to watch, okay, where does this go? The beauty of Kofi Kingston, as you mentioned with Daniel Bryan, is like, okay, you figured he was going to get the shot, but there's that ounce of like, maybe they keep it on Daniel that kept you on your seat, knowing they could put together a good match. Mm-hmm. And did you trust the writers? Did you trust Triple H? Did you trust Vince? Like,
I mean, you think back to Booker T.
Thing is, there was a lot of trust issues, but when you think about it, I mean, we're both two black men here. Mm-hmm. What's black men's lives been about? Do we trust the uppers to, let us go to the top? And that was just the beauty of it. We understood that, and I think other people understood that through the story they were presenting. So when it comes to Becky, we understand the story, but we just want to see it executed in a way we're like, all right, I want to see Shayna go over. But right now it's like, I mean, she's just going to bite and be the bad guy. I mean, I keep it on Becky, but like WrestleMania is the end all be all for the biggest storylines, and you want it to end in a way like it just seems like it's a cheap product now that it's like mid-February, and we're like, okay, in about 2 months we're going to go slap the title on Shayna, unless they do like a Brock Kofi thing and Shayna just squashes her. Yeah. And then, okay, well, then next thing you know, like, all right, we're set up for the next year. But then they have to re-meet, and it can't be like Hell in a Cell. It can't be, it's got to be like SummerSlam. So it's like, it's a long build.
Well, let me ask you this. A couple weeks ago, I had my good friend, I did a collaboration with three dope dudes in the mic. My good friend, Blake Thomas. He said the money, as much as people thought we wanted to see the 4 horsewomen versus the 4 horsewomen, it's not a match we want to see. The money is actually in Shayna and Ronda Rousey. Would you buy that feud? Shayna goes over at WrestleMania, and then the next night Ronda Rousey shows up at Challenger. Are you interested?
I mean, I think I told you this. I'm not the biggest Ronda fan. Like, I'm just
okay.
Like, you can't really present her like Brock Lesnar because she's not physically imposing compared to her opponents. Mm-hmm. Like Brock comes in, like when he comes in, you're like, okay, I see you come in and you're going to beat down people. But that's mostly because you're bigger than half the guys, except for like Strowman and a couple others. But then they had to put him in triple threat matches where he's going to end up winning or somebody's going to steal it from him. So when it comes to the women's division, it's like, I mean, the only one that's really physically opposing is Charlotte. Let's just be honest here. And Becky and Charlotte told a good story, but Shayna and Ronda, I mean, Shayna's physically imposing, but then you have Ronda, and they want to protect her MMA background, but you don't know if she's going to come back. I mean, and then when she comes back, she's got ring rust. I mean, it was the same way her MMA career went. She had octagon rust. And she came back and you saw what happened. Yeah. So honestly, if you want to put Shayna over Ronda, that's the only way you can do that. That's the only way that would be acceptable.
Okay.
Ronda would just leave it. I mean, I would say, like, if you want to do that, cool, but like bring her back as the one that's like, all right, Shayna beats Becky, and she's got double down on it and beat Ronda. Otherwise, you just lost 3 or 4 months.
Right.
So that's where the trick lies in. At least for me, that's where the trick lies in.
No, I feel you. That's why, that's what I love having. I love talking to wrestler fans. Shout out to NABJ, man. It's a few of us out there. I got my man B Will Media, got my man David Shealy. One thing that you and David did, and this is what I admire about both of you guys incorporate wrestling in your newscasts.
Oh, you have to. Yeah, you have to.
Everybody's a wrestler fan at one point in their life. Everybody was a wrestler fan. That's what me and my brothers, Glenn Thomas, Dwayne Allen, we always say that everybody was a wrestler fan. I mean, you saw, like, one of the things you did when you broke down the promo of Travis Kelce when after they won the Super Bowl, and you explained to the audience, because as your job, you have to tell the people. And I thought you did a great job translating, man.
Well, I just got inspired by the fact that he had the WWE belt. I mean, the story goes with the Chiefs. They actually, Triple H made a custom belt, as he always does, for every winner of a championship in any professional sport. He delivers it, and Patrick Mahomes was the first one to wear it, but Travis Kelce took it and took on a life of his own with it. And he literally cut a WWE-style promo in front of almost 1 million people out there at the parade of champions for the Kansas City Chiefs. And, I mean, he was a little liquored up. I mean, let's just not lie. He was more than a liquored up. He had a nearly $20,000 jacket on, and he was profiling like your boy Ric Flair. I mean, honestly, he could have been more like Dusty Rhodes if we really want to look back into it. I mean, Dusty Rhodes was styling and profiling back then too in the Mid-South days. But it's
second most recognized athlete in the world, baby. Muhammad Ali. But real quick, before we get away from the women, I want to touch on Bayley and Sasha Banks. I love this feud. I mean, this partnership that they have. I love this sisterhood. I do not want to see them face off at WrestleMania this year.
But again, like, what do you do? Like, Shayna, it's like, it's too soon to really call in like some NXT people to kind of make it interesting. And we're going to put in the Kabuki Warriors. Like, is that like, put a tag? That doesn't sell you. It doesn't sell you.
But
it's just like, right. I don't know what you do. So like, do you have them go up against each other? Because clearly there's the appetite and the need for some women's matches in there. I mean, we're going to throw in Natalya in there. But like, it's just like. So
you saying that's the only way we can go?
It's like they're limiting their own options. Because they haven't developed enough characters yet to the point where, like, okay, I want to sit down and watch this in a pre-match. No, like,
they're trying to work on developing Dana Brooke.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, they're trying to develop somebody, but it's just like they're getting too late to this. Like,
well, I honestly think the money
you gotta get into this after the Rumble. You gotta introduce them on Monday. Be like, we got about 10 new characters. Here we go. Let's do it. Instead, wait till February. And it's just
I know they may not want to do this, but I think you can go Naomi.
You could.
I think that's the same.
Like, you don't bring back. Yeah, she got a good pop on the return in the Royal Rumble. Like, she's definitely worthy. Like, you're not gonna put her over, but she's definitely worthy of a match.
Yeah,
I mean, you
might. You could. She could be a 3-time champion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I
like it. I just don't. There's the backing right now. Like, they didn't take advantage of the fact that her return to the Royal Rumble was like a decent pop, and then they had her go back and lose again. It's just like it kind of deflated it. Like, but that's the problem with. And
they get in their own way
instead of hours about creative and WWE, like and how like there's certain things they just don't seem to get. But it's just like you go for hours now, but we'll try to digress. But yeah, it's just she has an opportunity there, but I think it's just the chemistry of Bayley and Sasha that you're like, okay, I mean, I'll run it back again, but you got to give me something unique. You can't. You got to put a stipulation. There's got to be something.
Well, the thing I loved about Sasha saying on was it Corey Graves' podcast, she said she wasn't going to be in the Royal Rumble whether she got hurt or not, and she made two valid reasons: kayfabe or non-kayfabe. It was great. She said she didn't want to go to Raw, so it didn't make sense, and then she didn't want to face her best friend in Bayley. And I was like, thank you. Don't put her in the Rumble. Don't have her go in the Rumble just to like, okay, she's not going to win anyway. But we're going to throw her in there. So I'm glad she wasn't scheduled, even though she got hurt. But I'm glad she wasn't scheduled. But I really hope because of this, they do not. I think you still got legs with this friendship right here. I want to see them get the tag titles and actually defend them again.
That'd be nice.
Yeah,
they read the tag titles need something emphasis. And that would give emphasis. That would give it some prestige. Mm-hmm. And I think if you do that, then they'll have something for sure. I mean, it depends on what team they want to go to or what team they want to form, but it just seems like it's going to be hastily put together. And it just, when it gets to WrestleMania feuds, I was like, all right, keep me compelled. You're not going to keep me compelled for 4.5 hours.
Right.
But at the same time, like, give me a couple matches where it's like, all right, this has been a slow build that's been done properly, that's been done well. There's been hatred, there's been chairs, there's been backstage feuds, there's been tables break. Give me something where I'm like, all right, you guys legitimately don't like each other instead of like, all right, this is going to be a pass over 8-10 minute match. That's what I want to see because the women, as I said earlier, as we're both saying, they're at such a high bar. You want to see a good match out of a high bar.
That's true. That's definitely true. Now, before we close out the women's section, 5 years, women's revolution in professional wrestling. I want to think about the before the 5 years. Your Beth Phoenix, your AJ Lee's, or AJ was like right in the middle.
Yeah.
Karma, Eve Torres. Is there anybody that you could think of that jumps out the mind that you think was could have thrived had they been, I'm gonna say in this era, I don't want to say like younger, but had they been in this era of wrestling? Because we had the era where we had the Sable and the Sunnies, but then we went into the Trish, the Ivories, where it was first and the Victorias where the women were respected more, but then they started going into the Diva Search era, and we had some gems. But is there anybody that sticks out the mind that you would think would have done better in this era?
I think you said it, Karma. That was the one that I always thought would have done better because there's such a need for someone like her. I mean, she's presented as a monster. I mean, you remember her coming in the Royal Rumble, and that was the men's Royal Rumble. So
it's a shame. It's a shame that she went through psychological problems.
It may not have been like she won everything, but there is definitely a piece for her to be like, oh, if we need somebody to go over, that's the one we need to do it again. Or she can squash it. Like, that was the need they needed. And now they just got a bunch of, I mean, even if you look at the men's division, and I understand the anatomy of, everything's just going to be completely different. But you have a Big Show as much as you have a Rey Mysterio. Like, the women's division, the problem is you don't have a Big Show, you don't have a Rey Mysterio. You just got a bunch of, it's just like, really, like some are more athletic than others, some are more technical than others, but at the same time, you got pretty much the same human being. Like, that's where they needed somebody. So that's why I agree with Karma. I mean, that was the first thing that came to mind when you said that. And I was like, then you said it. And I was like, well, of course, somebody, or just develop someone that could have been like that. Just anyway, I mean, like Glow figured it out. And that's a Netflix show. So, so it's just like, use somebody.
Yeah. Well, let's move on. Let's start talking about these men folk in wrestling. We'll start off Goldberg and the Fiend, man. Goldberg is coming back. He's going to face the Fiend.
Get back when Goldberg loses in about 6 minutes after he runs out of breath. And, I mean, I've had the pleasure of meeting Goldberg.
Okay.
Goldberg. I've had the pleasure of meeting him. He's actually, I used to work in Tulsa, and he's from Tulsa. He went to Edison High School in Tulsa. So, and then of course, went to the University of Georgia and all that good stuff. So, I mean, I'm very familiar with his background, but it's fun for him to say like, you're next. And I like the 3.5 minute intro, banging out of the door, walking out into the ring. But at the same time, it's like, this is something to build the Fiend. And this is something where like, when you bring an old star back and they're willing to take the job, be put over. And that's exactly what this is. It's just a money grab to get him over. Fill time, he gets paid. Fiend gets a nice win under his belt. everybody goes home happy. I'm not expecting any type of match to be like, oh man, this is going to be great. This is literally going to be like, we need to put the Fiend over somebody who's got a name behind it. We can't just do Daniel Bryan. We can't just do a couple other, like, get a name behind it so we can build him up for WrestleMania and hopefully keep that gimmick, which I think is a great gimmick. I mean, you didn't think it was going to be great at first because of the way it was promoted, and then it came out. You're like, this is actually interesting. The only reason is because I have no idea where it goes. And again, that's the beauty of wrestling, when you have no idea where anything's going. And this one, though, against Goldberg, you know where this is going. They're not bringing in Goldberg to win. This isn't like Goldberg, Brock Lesnar, where he's going to squash Brock. This is like, this is.
Can you imagine if he does though? The internet will go crazy.
Exactly. It's gonna be half a match. I mean, until Goldberg just finally is like, ugh. And that's why I did this, because you can't expect these guys to go in. Like, why do you think Undertaker, when they bring him back, they're so slow moving? Like, he has to move slow. So
now, with that being said, if you're booking, who you have face the Fiend at WrestleMania and who wins?
Man, that's a good question. Because I mean, they've already tied themselves into Brock and Drew,
right? Which I'm a huge fan of that one.
Yeah, I'm good with that. I still think Brock's gonna go over, but I'm good with
Ooh.
that. Yeah, I just don't see it.
You
like,
don't?
That screams something like Fox or somebody's gonna come in and be like, no, or USC's like, do we really know who Drew is from like a mainstream, like, do we really know who Drew is?
But see, I think
we didn't know who Seth was. We didn't know. I mean, like when he got the belt
the first time, right?
Essentially permanently, but it's like, I mean, you want to go Fiend Seth? Great, cool, but you want to go Fiend AJ if he gets back from injury? Cool, and just.
Well, they're on Raw.
Yeah, I'm saying, like, it just surprised me. Honestly, it surprised me.
I would personally like to see Big E, but two things. I don't think we get two black guys in the championship match back-to-back years.
No, absolutely not. Yeah.
And we know I personally don't see the Fiend losing no time soon. I think
no, they got to keep that gimmick going.
I think the person that beats him may not actually be on the main roster. Not saying I know who that person is, but I just don't think they're on the main roster yet.
Are we looking at Adam Cole, Johnny Gargano?
Oh, heck no, not one of them. It's got to be somebody.
I was going to say, yeah.
Maybe even if it's like a Donovan Dijakovic or repackaged Keith Lee. Some people even say Killer Cross. But it's got to be somebody, a big deal, unless it's Brock, obviously.
Yeah.
But I just don't see the Fiend losing. But I do see Drew winning. I think that, I think that the comeback, because what I see in Drew McIntyre is somebody that Vince McMahon wanted to make a star over a decade ago, and he just didn't pan out. Yeah. So now I see that after he wins, you're going to see all these WWE 24s of him and Vince hugging and said, I always believe you're the chosen one.
They're trying to recreate the Kofi moment and the Daniel Bryan moment of 3 years ago in the Superdome. They're trying to moment where it was like, hey, we've got the underdog who finally achieved something by beating the beast.
And I don't
I like the idea.
A face.
Yeah, I like the idea. But it's just, I don't know. Sometimes I hope I'm wrong, but it's just like, part of the appeal is like, you know what? Give me somebody who's like, you know what? That guy deserves to be champion. Put him over Brock. Like, put him over immediately. And there's been nobody been presented there, because even then when Brock still comes out, people are just like, oh, crap, it's Brock Lesnar. Oh, cool, whatever. But it's still like in the mainstream, which is kind of what they want their belt to be on. It's like, who's your guy? Drew Mac? What? Is that his real name? Like, there's still pictures of Brock playing football for the Minnesota Vikings, and Vince is out there paying him good money.
Yeah,
just show up. I mean, you're not gonna have somebody. Now the question: does Brock want to put on a good match? If he gets motivated, he can put on a good match. Like it's kind of like Orton. If he's so motivated, which he is with Edge, on a good match.
You reading the timeline? Like, because I was going there next. Before I get there,
it's just like, but I know you're about to mention. It's just like, but I don't know.
But Brock, in my opinion, Brock hasn't had a bad match outside of Strowman.
Yeah, butchered that one.
He hasn't had a really bad match since Dean Ambrose. You think about him as Joe, The other match with Strowman, when Strowman was kind of still green.
Mhm.
Finn, AJ, Daniel Bryan. All these matches to me have been entertaining. Like, I've been entertained by Brock Lesnar. And I was one that was
That's
very
true.
vocal about
Yeah,
not
no, that's
liking
true. I
him
mean,
wearing the
you get
title.
you're absolutely right. When you get a Brock match, it's a good match. Nobody's ever denying that. I just see where they're going with Drew McIntyre, where the story they're trying to push an underdog story. This guy finally made it. We're so happy he eliminated Brock at Rumble, and we're ready to go. But then all of a sudden, now you got a one-on-one. It's the Beast. You know, it's going to be a couple German suplexes here. It's going to be a bunch of laughter. Paul Heyman's going to make faces, and then you're going to run around, and Drew's going to get his time. Then it's going to get ugly. You know, tables. Somebody's going to the announce table. Like, it's a guarantee. The Spanish announce table's gone in that match. Like, 80% of the stuff is predictable. The only thing is like, all right, the finish could go either way. You know, but it's like,
I think this one would close the show, though.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think so. I think this is the show. It's a sign of where we are.
Yeah.
It's just a sign of where they are, honestly. But yeah, I think it closes the show. It's either closing the show or there's one right next to it. That's for sure. Now, they need to reemphasize the belt.
Yeah. The title, man. You call it the title.
Belt. Yes.
How excited are you about Edge and Orton?
I'm excited.
Okay.
I'm actually genuinely excited about that one. I mean, first of all, I was excited to see Edge back. I mean, there have been rumors. I mean, I'll readily admit I read rap sheets. So, like, you know, I saw there was rumors out there, but they played it very coy to the point where at least when he came out, I was like, yes, he's out.
I'm a huge Edge fan.
I love the setup with Randy and Edge. Like, hey, let's bring back Rated RKO. Let's do it one time. And I was really like, they're going to do this. And then, no, they're not going to do it. And I was sold. And I love that. It reminded me of Mark Henry Cena when
retirement.
He left in the tank with the pink suit. That's the stuff I like. I love seeing that. And that's what I felt out of that. So I love it. I'm all in on that one. I think that's going to be great. I think that's going to be exciting.
Here's my thing, right? So Edge came back. Yeah, obviously, we were about, at that point in time, 4 or 5 hours removed from finding out about the late, great Kobe Bryant. So I was a huge Edge fan. I was there for his Hall of Fame induction in Miami. It was, you know, because it was sad. I shed a tear when he retired abruptly because I just couldn't believe it. I remember watching his first match in my grandmother's house. So to see him come back, I couldn't like get excited the way I wanted to. I was like, Edge is back. Oh, you know, but I was in a different mental space. But this feud right here, oh man, I'm excited about it. Like you said, a motivated Randy Orton, you get in the world. And Edge, you know, that's somebody they can trust each other. I think Edge trusts him to have his first match. And I'm excited about what happens afterwards, you know, the matches that you'll get with Edge.
Yes.
And I like including Matt Hardy in the story because this kind of help emphasizes it. You know, him coming out there. I know a lot of people who thought, oh man, Matt was squashed, this, that, and other. Matt Hardy's not coming there as much as I was a Matt over Jeff fan. And I was just hoping somehow, way, shape, or form, Matt would be one to wear the world championship in the WWE. He's the only person out of that the 2 tag teams not to wear the big belts in WWE. Yeah, he was TNA champion. But I was excited when he came back, but he didn't do anything. I was like, all right, I understand his role. It's there to, you know, get the young guys going, put him over. But I really like Edge and where they're going with Edge and Orton. And I like kind of giving us a little bit of Edge, but they're taking him off TV, so you're not overexposing him. And they're going to tear the house down at WrestleMania.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's got potential of steal the show, for sure. Just because they're going to be able to tell a good story. And I think I talked about it earlier. Orton's invested in that storyline. I mean, he wouldn't just go out there and be straight up heel with a person he knows well if he knows he can't tell a good story. And I believe they can tell a good story. You might have some run-ins from years, decades past in that one that could be awesome. One thing out of nowhere, I thought this RKO out of nowhere, what would be cool? Guest ref. Like throw in a guest ref. I don't know. Like throw in a guest ref, like somebody that just like out of nowhere comes back and you're like, oh, that's awesome. Like Christian. Bring back Christian as a guest ref. That would be appointment TV if you're me, but you know, I'm not a booker. But I think that would be awesome. I mean, like you got Christian out there. He's friends with all those guys. He'd be a guest ref. I mean,
well, we know the story between Christian and Orton.
Of course. Yeah.
Man, that was a fun time in 2011. I was very upset that Christian couldn't really like have that title run. And then when he finally won, I remember my late uncle, we was watching it together, and when Christian spit in Orton's face. And he got in his head, and I was like, it's cool to see him have that 1 month title reign. But I mean, him and Randy Orton put on some incredible matches that whole summer.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they did for sure. It was fun to watch. I mean, a lot of those are fun to watch. I mean, those guys, again, they know how to tell a story. And I mean, there's still some of the young guys out there still trying to really learn how to tell it. I mean, there's only so many stories you can tell, though. Like, if you had Reigns Ambrose, or Reigns Rollins, they can tell a story because they have prior history, but there's so much. I mean, they were this story, and then they were this character, and then they were another character. They were heel, they were face, they were heel, they were face. And all of a sudden, like, okay, you can tell that story because they've been through so many ropes in the road where you're like, okay, they've got so many things to play off of. They got a decade worth of stuff they can play off of. Randy can dominate early because Edge is coming back. He's tired. He's in ring rust. Then Edge comes back. He spears. Randy RKO's out of nowhere. RKO's a spear. Like, there's so much they can play out there. And now it's just for them veterans, really, to craft a story that's going to be entertaining to watch. And I think it's going to be a good product.
Yeah. How do you feel about Seth Rollins?
I kind of feel him the same way you kind of feel about Becky. I just think it's like over. Like,
me too.
This whole Monday Night Messiah thing is like, cool, lukewarm reception at best. And like, he's got his protectors with him, like they're pot. It's just
he's a better heel, but
I don't like it. I mean, it's like watching Daryl from The Walking Dead sometimes. I'm just like, all right, cool, like, all right, yeah, we know you're cool, we get it, you're cool, but like,
to me, he's a better heel, but it's still like, I understand. I mean, I one thing I do like is seeing Buddy Murphy with him. It's an opportunity for him to shine. Seeing AOP, opportunity to get them on television. Same with the Viking Raiders. Is that
it's old school wrestling. They're just trying to build those guys. You have a faction behind it's like Nation of Domination. You have people behind you. Next thing you know, one of them turns out all right. So
So, all right. So let's get into NXT really quickly. Any match in particular you looking forward to? We got NXT Takeover Portland.
Yeah, I mean, I in general enjoy watching the NXT product. I mean, I was really sold in the Cole and Gargano, and I just love the gimmicks they do. I think it works in that small setting. But here's the deal: like, I kind of strayed away because work and life got in the way. but and then Wednesday when they started putting it on, like, it was like you watch a little NXT, you watch a little AEW, NXT, AEW, and I'm like, all right, AEW was actually not that bad tonight. So I was like, I'll stick with that. So, but if you get me Gargano versus anybody, he's just capable. But I like Gargano. And I know he's had the injury things here, there, whatever, but it's like you put him in a match and it excels.
Well, you getting him in Mr. NXT, Finn Balor. So
I mean, you're getting
I expect them to steal the show. I wouldn't be surprised if they opened it.
And then you bring back Finn, which I honestly is a brilliant move. Because even as Demon Finn, the character he's doing, I was like, that was cool and all, but like he does his service in NXT because he just fits that brand well.
Yeah.
And when those two guys get after it, it's going to be it's going to be amazing. Plus, like, Triple H is in charge of that thing, so he's more inventive. He does the war games. He does the he's got the fatals. It's better. Like, it's just it's a better product a lot of times than WWE, and that's no fault of the WWE's fault. That's just more like you get put into that character, and you're like, okay, sure. Like, all right, I don't buy you, but like NXT, and maybe it's just that small Florida atmosphere they got going on down there at Full Sail, where you're just like, these are educated fans. They see them on the weekly. They see them daily. Like, they know. So they know how to do it. Like Velveteen Dream, always like watching him. I mean, EC3, like, just like, you see these guys, you're like, all right, they're exciting. But a lot of it has to do with just their in-ring ability.
Right.
And they're still developing their character. So the matches are great. you'll read like a Dave Meltzer, give him 5.5 stars, but then you realize, all right, what did this mean in the long run? Who knows? But like Gargano's a guy who's like, all right, he makes you feel like, oh, it meant something in the long run.
Yeah.
So I know with him, it's great.
Yeah, I definitely think they'll have a great match. I'm really looking forward to Adam Cole and Tommaso Ciampa.
Yeah.
Because that's one of those things you don't really know where they're going. Because Adam Cole and Undisputed Era have been rolling, and now it's at a point where I think if Adam Cole wins, he'll be the longest reigning champion. But then you have Tommaso Ciampa like ready to stop him. So, I'm really excited. I'm a huge Adam Cole fan. Been one since he was in Ring of Honor. So he's somebody that I could see main event in WrestleMania within the next 3 years. But I think Tommaso Ciampa, he keeps saying daddy's home. I think he may come up a little bit short.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I think the good thing about both of those is that like they'll create a match where like the beauty of NXT in general is like those guys create a match where like seems like both of them go over, even though one lost, one won. Like they both, the fans still love them. They still appreciate the fact that they put on such a quality, 20, 30-minute match where you're just like, I need to watch this, and it's good. Like, when you watch WWE Network, you're just like, I want to go back on Saturday and watch that one again because that was good stuff. Like those are the ones you want to rewatch. So it's like they kind of feel like they both go over, but it's in that setting. It's in the NXT setting where they both seem to keep. I don't know why I keep making this phrase. They both keep to go over. It's just like, and then you go to like Cole experiment in WWE is like go right back down. It just doesn't. It just doesn't. They don't do it right in terms of. Where they've failed a lot is the build of NXT guys in like you can remember some like the Shield where they did it right or a couple others, but they don't really do a lot of good like how do we
transition?
Ciampa into WWE and make it transition well. Like you put him against Aleister Black, but then they see each other again. Like it just depends. But yeah,
it's just, it's with the men for sure. The women I think do a great job. Obviously the 4 horsewomen. Ember Moon was solid till she got hurt. I thought maybe she didn't get a lot of airtime, but when she did well with it.
Yeah.
But I think I'm going to see. I think that this group of guys, meaning if I don't think Ciampa goes because I know he's talked about like he'd rather stay on NXT forever. Yeah. But I do think the Undisputed Era could translate well. They are a little smaller, but they're a fun faction to watch. So I think they could translate well. And Keith Lee, they try to well. Look like they're trying to make him into a star. It seemed like he did his thing. I think what helps now is that these guys are getting a taste of that main roster. Being on the Survivor Series, I think maybe this year we'll get some NXT guys on WrestleMania. So I think they're getting a better opportunity to say, like you said, when the Aleister Black, and then we're down there.
Yeah, I mean, it's a smart concept they got by trying to make NXT one of the, the big, like, put them up to the blue and the red brand just simply because they got their show now.
Yeah.
It's literally a strategic move to put them wrestling-wise on Wednesday to compete against AEW, if anything, just to take away numbers from AEW. It's just good business. But when you do that, then you have you develop stars with Keith Lee. I mean, Keith Lee's a stud, man. I mean, they put him out there in Rumble. I thought there was going to be more out of him. I thought he might be the guy to push over Brock Lesnar. I mean,
I know.
I thought for a second, but it just would have been a spot. Looking back, it just would have been a spot, not like something that's long form because they're not going to put them two in the ring for a while. So, but it was good to see it, just for that little spot. But yeah, I mean, because it was Drew's time in the Rumble, obviously. So, I think Keith's got a shot. I mean, but you just got to get Ciampa and Gargano, and Cole, if they get them there. I mean, I don't know if you put them together as a faction, but then that just seems like you're making a new Shield. It's not going to work because of the beefs they already have, and we see them on TV. So it remains to be seen what NXT does, but I do like the product. I mean, those guys, they're going to put on 5-star matches almost every time simply because you see them go out there and you're like, oh, man, these guys are somebody. And then don't forget UK.
Yeah.
Guys, they got some guys there.
Man. I want to see Walter versus Brock.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
That's the match I want to see.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna get ready to wrap things up here, man. Before we go, any final thoughts, and let the people know where they can find you.
Yeah. I'm Twitter all the time. Harold R. Kuntz, number 3. HAROLD RKUNTZ and the number 3. Twitter all the time. I work in Kansas City. I'm a sports anchor there. I'm pretty much on it the daily, basically. So I've been here for a year. It's actually a year in 4 days. It'll be a year. So I've been here a year.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And I was in Oklahoma for 6.5 before that. So it's fun. But I mean, I always keep my eye out on wrestling, obviously. I mean, I followed wrestling since I was a kid. I grew up in Attitude. I'm an Attitude Era, kid. Like I grew up and I was what, middle school for me, Attitude Era in 2000. I was barely high school. I mean, I kept watching it, and everybody thinks I'm stupid for watching it, but I'm like, I love it. I mean,
did we all get that?
Look, it's a story. It's a TV show that's a story. It's not. Every now and again, you get the ones that like really stick on your real life, and you have your ups and downs with it. Like right now, it's a little bit of a down, but then there's definitely the ups. The ups were great. Like last year at Kofi, that was an up. Yeah, I mean, that was a huge up. Then you're like, I want to see this. I want to see this.
I shed a tear
through. Like Daniel Bryan, I wanted to see that play through when he beat Triple H and he beat he won that triple threat match. CM Punk, Cena, Chicago. I mean, that's one of the great settings in entertainment I've ever seen. Just because Chicago was so behind Cena. That's like 9-8 years ago now. I mean, you have certain, and then you have the whole angle of leaving away with the championship. All that. It's like, those are the things you like to see, and that's what captivates people to wrestling. And they can do that more often than you have a product that people want to watch. People are going to watch something when they don't know what's going to happen. That's why you watch sports, because 2 teams get on the field or court, and when they go on there, you do not know what's going to happen. Now, you have a good guess, an educated guess of what's going to happen, but you never know what's going to happen. And the thing about the WWE is they can create an atmosphere, or anybody, Ring of Honor, Impact. It's people still watch for the 12 rabbits at home that still watch that. I mean, it's just like it's one of the, or like when you every now and again you catch a New Japan, like one of those. I mean, every now and again you catch those. It's just when you're telling a story, sometimes it's not so much about the in-ring, but you're like, I want to get behind these people. And when you get behind 2 people that are going up against each other, it's just the struggle of life, and it plays out. It just happens that the guys, hardly have any clothes on, but like it plays out, and you want to watch it, and it's good.
Yeah, man. Well, I definitely appreciate you coming on, man. We definitely got to do this again.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, right. Definitely appreciate you coming on. Ladies and gentlemen, that'll do it for this edition of Break It Down with Brian H. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and make sure you are subscribed to the YouTube channel where you can get exclusive content from myself and the real Dwayne Allen. We don't take ourselves too seriously, so neither should you. Till next time, so long, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Break It Down with Brian H. Hit the subscribe button and turn on the bell so you get notified every time the Wrestling Wrealm posts new content.